What's going on, guys? Stevie here with Lucky Crit, just bringing you a quick Fire Emblem Heroes update. We have the new Datamine information for app version 2.2 that just came out, thanks to data miners like Xanic and other guys like that, so shout out to them. Thank you guys so much for that. And we can finally see who all of the Valentine's Day characters are going to be, so let's take a look. So here we have Lilina, Roy, Eliwood, Lyn, and Hector. So far we have 5 confirmed Valentine's Day characters, and we do also know that there is going to be a Valentine's Day Tempest trial, so one of these characters is likely going to be a free unit from that Tempest trial. But let's dive into these characters and take a look at what their stats and what their weapons are going to be. So right off the bat here we have Blush of Youth, Lilina. She's going to be a Green Mage Cavalier, like Cecilia and Gunthra before her. Honestly, her stats really aren't all that different from Cecilia. She still has kind of a very similar build going on with the middling speed. We're kind of still holding out for a really fast Horse Mage. Maybe they don't want to do that because of, you know, the potential consequences of doing that and adding that to the game. But so far, this is pretty consistent with what we've gotten. It's not clear yet as to whether or not she's going to be, you know, considerably better than Cecilia. As for a weapon, she has the Green Gift Plus, which states that if a foe uses a bow, dagger, magic, or staff, neutralize foes' bonuses from all skills like Fortify, Rally, etc. during combat. So her weapon is actually going to neutralize any ranged unit's bonuses like Fortify, Rally, and presumably Hone skills. So that's going to totally remove any buffs from any enemy characters. That could be something that's really, really good. That remains to be seen. As far as how Lilina stacks up against Cecilia, Cecilia has a base HP of 36, so 2 points higher than Lilina, but she also has 3 points lower in attack at 32, much less speed at 25, so even though this Lilina isn't exactly fast, she's a lot more baseline, I'd say, a lot more middle of the road, and that could be bumped up a lot better. Cecilia also has 2 more points of defense, and a bit more resistance at 3 points to that. So this is kind of, sort of a Green Mage Glass Cannon a little bit. Her speed is not quite there yet, but perhaps they were trying to be balanced with that and still keep it into realistic levels, because obviously with the Hone Cavalry buffs, it's going to be up to 36, and then who knows what else is going to happen with other buffs too. So she's not the fastest, but she is definitely a little bit interesting, and she definitely has the attack on Cecilia as well. So honestly, if you do pull this character, she's probably going to be a pretty good option to give Ground Blade or something like that, so that could definitely be in the cards for you. Gunthra so far has been the fastest Green Cavalry Horse Mage, but she's a little bit more of a weird case. She has to be basically supported by a dagger unit or somebody that can provide debuffs to make her tome work a little bit better, so she's not maybe the most ideal replacement for Cecilia. So in fact, this Green Lilina could potentially be a bit of an upgrade to your Horse Emblem team if you're looking for that. Moving forward, we have Youthful Gifts Roy, and he is actually our second ever Archer Cavalier unit, which is really, really interesting. But the question is, can he stack up against Lyn, as she's been incredibly popular in the meta, especially because she was a free unit already. As for stats, he is incredibly slow with a 19 speed, pretty good resistance at 30, pretty okay defense at 27, and a pretty standard attack stat of 35. His weapon is going to be the Gracia Plus, effective against flying foes, obviously, but then it also retains that same effect that Lilina's weapon has, as they tend to do with some of these seasonal units. If a foe uses bow, dagger, magic, or staff, neutralizes the foe's bonuses. So once again, we have that same effect. This Roy is honestly kind of begging for a brave weapon with that really, really awful speed, but he could be an interesting unit. I'm kind of holding out on hope because I really like the artwork and everything. So as far as how he stacks up to Brave Lyn has 1 point higher of HP, actually 2 points lower in attack, but much higher speed at 35, much lower defense, of course, and a bit lower resistance at 28. So a little bit of a mix-up here, but that really low speed really does, I think, hurt this Roy. It doesn't look that great. Maybe with the Brave Bow, he can be salvaged a little bit. He does have a couple points of attack on that Brave Lyn, so it's possible that you can make something good out of him, but by default, I think he's definitely going to need, you know, Quick Riposte or something to be at least usable to a degree. Next up, we've got Devoted Love Eliwood, who is going to be an Armored Lance unit, and he has 47 HP, 38 attack, 32 speed, 29 defense, and 29 resistance. So his speed is kind of in that middling zone. As far as how he stacks up to our last Armored Lance unit, which would be the Winter's Envoy Robin, Robin has 45 HP to Eliwood's 47, 35 attack to Eliwood's 38, which is quite good, but Robin also beats him with 2 points of speed, and much better defense at 35 to Eliwood's 29, although Winter Robin does have a bit lower res. So this Eliwood does seem to be pretty good all around. That 32 speed could use a little bit of a buff though. As far as his weapon goes, it turns out we don't actually have any data mined information about his weapon just yet. Perhaps that reveals his status as a Tempest Trial unit if it's not already in the game with him, as well as, you know, alongside the rest of this data mine information. So that could potentially change things up a little bit, but that remains to be seen, and hopefully his weapon will be a little bit different than the rest of these weapons that we're seeing so far. Next up, we have Wind's Embrace Lin, who is actually our first ever armored blue mage, which is super interesting. She's coming with 37 HP, 31 attack, 36 speed, 27 defense, and 34 resistance. So obviously really tanky on the res side, really fast too, which is quite interesting, with some pretty solid defenses to back her up. Her attack is a little bit lower than perhaps expected, but you know, you got to balance out that base stat total somewhere, somehow. So that seems interesting. And of course, she also does come with the Blue Gift Plus, which once again, if used against a ranged unit, is going to neutralize that foe's bonuses from skills like Fortify and Rally. So that could be actually pretty interesting as far as like a meta change up. She could potentially be a brand new staple on Armor Emblem teams, though it looks like she is going to need a little bit of an attack buff on her, maybe either by Hone Armors, or a lot of people tend to prefer the goad skills, so maybe from a normal Hector or something like that. But yeah, she's definitely going to need a little bit of something, I think, to balance out that attack, because her attack is a little bit low compared to some of the other units here. But that speed is really nice by default, and she's not totally lacking on the defenses either, which is quite nice. And last up here, we have just here to fight, Hector. Hector is going to be another armored axe unit, coming in at 50 HP, 38 attack, 21 speed, 40 defense, and 24 resistance. If we compare him to his original counterpart, this version has 2 less HP, 2 more attack though, a bit less speed from 24 to 21 on this version, which is honestly fine because the speed is garbage anyway, so those points are actually being added somewhere else where they actually matter. 3 more points in defense, which is quite nice, and a couple more points into resistance with 24 resistance, whereas the original Hector had a base resistance of 19. So that's actually really nice. It's like a much better version of Hector by default, and his weapon is actually different than the other ones here so far, with a really cool effect too. So we have the Berserk Armads, which accelerates the special trigger, cooldown count -1. So basically the Wo Dao effect built into his weapon. His specials are going to trigger faster, and if his HP is less than or equal to 75%, and the special triggers by attacking. So basically it seems like as long as you're not using a defensive special attack, his special cooldown count is also going to get another -1 at the start of turn. And there's also a built-in Wrath effect here, where it deals +10 damage when the special triggers. So this looks honestly kind of amazing. He's still going to have, you know, a lot of the same pitfalls that the original Hector had, although this one does have better res. He's still going to be incredibly slow, so he's going to need that quick riposte and stuff like that on him to make his build a little bit more evened out, I'd say. But as far as his resistance goes, it's a little bit better. He's still going to die from red mages, but overall I'd say that this really does look like, you know, as the weapon name says, a Berserk version of Hector, which I think is really cool. We've also found the Datamine banner for the upcoming Valentine's Day Tempest Trials, so that will actually be a confirmed thing that is real, and it is also very likely that one of these units will be the reward on that banner, so that's going to be interesting. You might have also noticed that there is a little bit of a layout change within the map section of the game now. There's a new area in the top left that has yet to be revealed. However, in the notifications from Nintendo, it does say that in the March update, basically this is going to be a new mode where you can actually use Blessed Heroes and Legendary Heroes in a new battle mode, which I think is really interesting. Honestly, the Legendary Heroes and the Blessings before was a really lame system. I don't think anybody really liked that system. It didn't really do much. You were kind of forced into using the Legendary Heroes as part of your teams. And, you know, if you had a character, you know, like Fjorm as part of your initial core of your team, perhaps that could be cool, but overall I think it was way too limited and just way too specific for most people. So it does seem like this mode has the potential to make things a lot more interesting. This is a little bit shocking because we were still anticipating that brand new sort of rhythm game mode that's going to be coming out, but here's another new mode on top of that, so that's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about that personally. I do think it's going to be a little bit weird that we are limited to Legendary Heroes, but I do think that that's also kind of interesting and kind of presents a brand new challenge, so that could be really cool. And also from this same notification from Nintendo, it does say that not only will we continue to get the blessings from the Legendary Hero summoning events, but it also says that special training maps will be giving us blessing items as well. So moving forward, it's not going to be as limited, where you just have to basically summon a Legendary Hero to get the blessings. That makes sense. I mean, with this new mode, people would not be able to use very many characters at all. We've only been given a couple free blessings so far, and I don't think everybody has been summoning for all the legendary characters so far, so that's really cool. I'm glad to see that. It seems like the blessings are going to be a lot more commonplace in the days ahead, so I'm definitely excited for that as well. We also have confirmation that there's going to be a new Bound Hero battle with Corrin and Azura that's coming out soon, as well as new Warriors maps that are going to be added into the game due to the new Warriors DLC that's coming out for Shadow Dragon, so that's really cool. So we're going to see maps with Lind, Navarre, and Minerva. hopefully with more ridiculous spawns in them for that extra SP. The Warriors maps tend to be the best grinding maps in the entire game so far, so that's going to be really exciting to see how that plays out. And we will also be getting some new trading maps in the coming days, so I think it's going to get a lot easier soon to be able to grind SP on your units, so that's really cool. Alright, so during the time that I was making this video, the actual banner video finally dropped, so we do have more information about the character skills, as well as who's on the banner, and it has also finally been revealed that Eliwood is indeed going to be the Tempest Trial unit for free, which is a pretty nice gift from them considering his high base stat total, so that's pretty cool. As you know, the Tempest Trial units tend to not be that amazing, but this is pretty cool to see right out of the gate here. So alongside her Green Gift Plus, Lilina will also be coming with Blazing Flame, which is pretty standard, HP and Attack 2, which is, you know, probably a skill that most people are going to replace, but also Attack Tactic 3, which is kind of nice to see. So I do like to see that these skills are becoming a little bit more commonplace. These are the skills that essentially promote mixed teams as opposed to, you know, Horse Emblem teams, Armor Emblem teams, that kind of stuff. So it is cool to see this coming more and more, and I do like the fact that it is on this Lilina here. So it's almost looking like maybe they were thinking to make her as sort of a mixed team support, but I do think that a lot of people are still going to be able to run her on their Horse Emblem team and probably slap on, you know, either a goat or a hone onto her, so that's pretty interesting. Alongside his Gracia, Roy is actually coming with Reciprocal Aid, Death Blow 3, and Bow Valor 3. So this is finally the first time that we've gotten Bow Valor in the game. It's one of the few Valor skills that we're still missing, so it's nice to see it finally arrive. A little bit strange here, I think, on this Roy, but, you know, I guess eventually they had to have some archer with it, right? Death Blow does work with him because he has a pretty good attack stat, but like I said before, his pitiful speed is pretty bad, so you're definitely going to have to slap, you know, either Quick Riposte or something on him like that to help mitigate that. Maybe even drop him a Brave Bow or something so at least he gets the guaranteed double. But I think he's definitely going to need a little bit of work. He's definitely not the type of unit that right out of the box you can just use him and he'll be really great. Which is unfortunate because, you know, Roy's pretty cool. But he's been kind of getting the short end of the stick, at least as far as his normal iteration goes and this new one. Ha! Alongside his Berserk Armads, this brand new Hector also comes with Glimmer, Distant Counter once again, so we finally have another character with Distant Counter, and once more it is in fact Hector, so he's going to retain that like the normal Hector, and he also comes with Wary Fighter 3. So you'll also have to keep track of the fact that his Armads no longer has the original Armads ability into it, so he doesn't have the Quick Riposte built in, so that's going to be kind of interesting in terms of your options with how to build him. You know, you might have to actually drop your Quick Riposte seal onto him or something like that to make him a little bit more versatile in combat, but overall I do think this is a pretty decent skill set. I'm glad to see Distant Counter return. You know, I do think that we need some more units with it just so that people have a better chance of pulling it, so that's pretty cool. My arm is singing! Lynn's build here is probably one of the more interesting ones that we've seen so far. Alongside her blue gift, she also comes with Ardent Sacrifice, which is pretty standard, pretty par for the course. But she also comes with Attack and Speed Bond 3, which is going to give her attack and speed +5 during combat if she's adjacent to an ally. I think a lot of people might remove this skill from her, but to be completely honest, it's a pretty darn good skill on her. She's going to need the extra attack, and a little bit of extra speed is not going to hurt her either, especially, you know, helping her jump up into the 40s. So that's really, really cool. I think that's a pretty great skill for her right out of the box. Guard 3 is kind of an interesting choice. So basically if her HP is greater than or equal to 80% at the start of combat, the enemy is going to be inflicted with the cooldown charge -1. So that's kind of helpful, maybe in terms of giving her a little bit more of a defensive role because her defenses aren't that great. But honestly, she's not bad in any way. But I do think that's going to be a skill that a lot of people replace. And she also comes with Armor March, which I find very, very interesting. So another unit with Armor March. I'm really, really happy to see this skill all over the place these days and continuing to roll out on even more units. So that's really, really cool. I do like that. I do like the fact that the armor units are getting kind of a second wind here and a much better chance to actually have an effect on the meta. So I'm glad that she comes with that as well. That's really nice. I'm also glad to see that they are keeping to the 4-unit banners with this one. It's a little bit disappointing when they've been coming out with some of the newer characters recently as far as, you know, in the game releases, not necessarily the seasonals. But usually these normal game banners that we get have been split up and they'll usually only do 3 units per banner. And that's kind of lame to me. I think, you know, we've been kind of spoiled by having the 4-character banners and now going down to this, you know, sort of split technique where sometimes one of the new characters ends up on their own separate banner with some repeat characters or something. I don't really like that, so I'm glad to see that they are continuing at least the seasonals with 4 per banner. So that's really, really exciting. It does mean, however, that there is a duplicate color going on here, so if you're going to be pulling for Hector or Lilina, you might end up pulling the opposite one, which could be a problem, or, you know, might not be a problem, because at the end of the day, if you want Lilina and you get Hector, at least he's got distant counter or something. You know, some good fodder and good stuff to play with there, so that's pretty cool. And if you end up getting Lilina by accident, well, I mean, she's definitely not the worst cavalry unit we've gotten lately, and Green Book cavalries are pretty rare, so that's kind of cool too. So I think that's going to wrap up this video, guys. It's really, really exciting to see the new stuff coming to Fire Emblem Heroes. We've also just received the brand new Weapon Refinery update, which brought brand new upgrades to characters like Sheeta, Hanoka, Raven, Felicia, Zephiel, and even all of the Falchion users who got pretty much separate buffs depending on, you know, which version of the Falchion they were using. So that's really, really cool. I hope that we see a resurgence of these characters in the meta, and a lot of these effects are super interesting. But if you want to hear about that, I can talk about that in another video. That's going to just about do it for today. Let me know your thoughts on these brand new Valentine's Day characters in the comment section down below. Are you going to be pulling on this banner? Personally, I was kind of hoping to hold on to some of these orbs, but with this new banner and how exciting this is, I might have to just try to summon for some of these characters. So definitely be sure to let me know what your plans are. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for any news and updates that get revealed on the fly. And if you're interested in further discussion beyond this video, be sure to join our Discord server. There's always people in there talking about Fire Emblem Heroes or Fire Emblem in general, so be sure to stop by and take a peek. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.